I was 19 years old the day I learned how quickly people decide who you are and how dangerous that decision can be. One minute I was just a kid trying to get home, the next I was labeled a problem, a risk, someone who didn't belong. And yeah, I know how that sounds dramatic, maybe even exaggerated, but stay with me because this wasn't a speech. It was my life, and it almost ended 30,000 feet above the ocean. It started like any other flight, boring in that late-night way where everyone just wants to sleep and pretend they're not trapped in a metal tube. I was flying from Madrid to Boston on a red-eye alone, first time without my mom or my older brother hovering over me like bodyguards. My stepfather had booked the ticket first row extra space because he worried. Always worried about my anxiety, my asthma, the way tight spaces messed with my breathing. I wore a loose gray hoodie, old jeans, sneakers with frayed laces, headphones on hood. Up, just trying to disappear into my music. I wasn't trying to look rich or important. I just wanted to get home. I was sketching on my tablet a dumb little cartoon of my dog wearing a graduation cap, planning to show it to my mom when I landed. That's when I felt a tap on my shoulder, sharp, impatient. I pulled my headphones off and looked up into the face of a flight attendant who already looked tired of me. Not tired in general, tired specifically of me. "Your boarding pass," she said. No greeting, no smile. Smile, hand out like I owed her something. I told her I'd already shown it at the gate. She didn't care. I handed her my phone. She stared at the screen, then at me, then back at the screen like one of us was lying and she was pretty sure it wasn't the technology. "This seat is restricted," she said. "It's assigned to premium passengers." I laughed, a little nervous laugh, the kind you do when you think there's been a mix-up. I told her, "Yeah, that's me. It's under my stepdad's name." Her mouth tightened. "We'll see about that." She didn't lower her voice. People started looking. A guy across the aisle paused his movie. Someone behind me leaned forward. I could feel that heat, that attention crawling up my spine. She said there was an issue with the manifest. She said I'd need to move until it was resolved. I told her I had anxiety, that I needed the space, that the ticket was paid. She cut me off and said, "You're being disruptive." That word stuck with me. Disruptive. All I'd done was sit there and breathe. When I asked if she could call the cockpit or let me call my family, she leaned in and said, quiet but sharp, "Don't make this harder than it needs to be." I knew that tone. I'd heard it from teachers, from store clerks, from security guards who followed me a little too closely. The tone that says, "I already decided who you are." She told me to grab my things. I froze for a second, then stood up, heart racing, hands shaking. I said she was making a mistake. She said, "No, you are." Instead of taking me to another seat, she walked me past business class, past sleeping faces and closed eyes into the galley. She pulled the curtain shut like we were hiding a mess. Told me to sit on the fold-down jump seat. I said that wasn't allowed. She said I was no longer compliant. A younger attendant came in, looked between us, confused. I told him I had asthma. I told him I was scared. I told him to scan my pass again. She told him to get restraints. That word didn't feel real until I saw them in his hands, white plastic cuffs, the kind you see on the news. I started backing up, bumping into metal carts. I said, "Please." I said I couldn't breathe. I said I was sick. She grabbed my arm. I pulled away, instinct panic. She yelled, "Assault," like she'd been waiting to say it all night. Everything after that moved too fast and too slow at the same time. They forced me into the seat, twisted my arms behind my back, cinched the cuffs so tight my fingers went numb. The belt cut across my chest. I was crying. Loud. Ugly. Crying the kind you can't stop once it starts. She told me to be quiet. Told me I was embarrassing myself. Then she left. Just walked away. The younger attendant hesitated. Looked at me like he wanted to help, then her voice crackled over the intercom calling him. He left too. The curtain stayed closed. That's when the panic hit full force. My chest tightened. The air felt thick, like breathing through cloth. I tried to slow down, tried the exercises my therapist taught me, but the cuffs dug into my wrists every time I moved. I asked for water. No answer. I asked for my inhaler. No answer. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. I remember thinking about my mom's laugh, about how mad she'd be if she knew where I was sitting, about how stupid it was that I was scared on a plane meant to keep me safe. Then the world narrowed like a tunnel closing in. I don't remember passing out. I remember waking up to voices, panicked voices, someone saying my name for the first time since this started. I remember oxygen on my face, cold air flooding my lungs, and hands still bound behind me. Someone said I wasn't faking anymore. Someone else said we were landing soon. I remember thinking, that's it, that's how this ends. What I didn't know was that my smartwatch had sent an alert when my heart rate spiked and then dropped. It pinged my emergency contact, my stepfather, who was already waiting at the airport with a cardboard sign and a stupid grin. He saw the alert, didn't hesitate, didn't ask questions. He went straight to airport security and said something was wrong with his kid on that flight. And when he speaks, people listen. When the plane landed, it didn't go to the gate. It stopped on the tarmac. I heard sirens through the walls. The curtain ripped open, and there he was. Tall, suit, rumpled eyes wild. He didn't shout at first. He just looked at me. Really looked at the cuffs, the mask, the way my hands were swelling. Then he exploded. He demanded scissors. He demanded names. He demanded answers. The cuffs came off too late to undo the damage, but fast enough to save my life. They rushed me out on a stretcher. Cameras flashed. Passengers stared. One man held his phone up and didn't look away. I caught my stepfather's eye as they wheeled me past. He squeezed my hand and said, "I've got you." I believed him. The fallout was loud and messy. The flight crew was detained. The airline issued statements. Videos surfaced. The audio from the cabin told a different story than their reports. A quiet kid drawing on a tablet. A voice saying, "I can't breathe." A response saying, "She's exaggerating." The stock dropped. Sponsors pulled out. Internal emails leaked showing a policy about profiling potential fraud in premium cabins. Suddenly, everyone wanted distance. I spent 3 days in the hospital. Oxygen. IVs, doctors talking about nerve damage in my wrists, about stress-induced collapse. My mom cried at my bedside. My stepfather made phone calls in the hallway, calm voice, furious eyes. Lawsuits were filed. Charges were pressed. The young attendant testified, said he'd been afraid to speak up, said he'd known it was wrong. That part hurt almost as much as the cuffs. Months passed. Courtrooms replaced cabins. The senior attendant lost her job, her pension, her freedom. The airline's CEO resigned under pressure. Training programs were overhauled. New policies rolled out. None of that erased what happened, but it mattered. It mattered that it was written down, recorded, impossible to deny. I'm 20 now. The scars on my wrists are thin and pale. My hands still ache when it's cold. I fly again, slowly, carefully. I still wear hoodies. I still sketch on planes. I refuse to shrink myself to make other people comfortable. So, here's what I want to know. If you'd been on that flight, if you'd heard me crying behind that curtain, would you have said something? Would you have believed me, or would you have assumed the uniform knew best? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you stand, and if you've ever seen something like this happen, speak up. Silence is easy. Justice isn't.